Then Job said, I'm not gonna wait like this for you. He took 3 darts in his hand and thrust them through Absalom's heart while he was still alive in the middle of the oak. 10 young men who bore Job's armor surrounded and struck Absalom and killed him. Job blew the trumpet and the people returned from pursuing Israel, for Job held the people back. They took Absalom and cast him into a great pit in the forest and raised over him a very great heap of stones, and all Israel fled, each to his own tent. Now, Absalom in his lifetime had taken and set up for himself the pillar which is in the king's valley. For he said, I have no son to keep my name in memory. He called the pillar after his own name, and it is called Absalom's monument to this day. Then Ahimaaz the son of Zadok said, let me now run and carry the king news, how the Lord has avenged him of his enemies.
Job said to him, you must not be the bearer of news today, but you shall bear news another day. But today you shall bear no news,
because the king's son is dead. Then Job said to the Cushite, go tell the king what you have seen.
tell the king what you have seen.
The Cushite bowed himself to Job and ran. Ahimaaz the son of Zadok said yet again to Job,
Tell the king what you have seen.
but come what may, please let me also run after the Cushite. Job said,
Why do you want to run, my son, since you will have no reward for the news?
but come what may,
Yeah.
he said, I will run.
Yeah.
He said to him, run. Then Ahimaaz ran by the way of the plain and outran the Cushite. Now David was sitting between the 2 gates, and the watchman went up to the roof of the gate to the wall and lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, a man running alone. The watchman called and told the king. The king said,
If he is alone, there is news in his mouth.
he came closer and closer. The watchman saw another man running, and the watchman called to the gatekeeper and said,
Behold, a man running alone.
the king said, he also brings news. The watchman said, I think the running of the first one is like the running of Ahimaaz the son of Zadok. The king said, he is a good man, comes with good news. Ahimaaz called and said to the king, all is well. He bowed himself before the king with his face to the earth and said, blessed is the Lord your God, who has delivered up the men who lifted up their hand against my lord the king. The king said,
Is the young man Absalom well?
Ahimaaz answered, when Job sent the king's servant, even me your servant, I saw a great tumult, but I don't know what it was. The king said, turn aside and stand here. He turned aside and stood still. Behold, 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 behold. The Cushite came, and the Cushite said, good news for my lord the king. For the Lord has avenged you today of all those who rose up against you. The king said to the Cushite,
Is the young man Absalom well?
the Cushite answered, may the enemies of my lord the king and all who rise up against you to do you harm be as that young man is. The king was much moved and went up to the room over the gate and wept as he went. He said, we can live.
My son Absalom, my son, my son, my son.
I wish I had died instead of you.